Hi everyone, this is Amy from Red Tent Sisters. Over the past few years, I've had the privilege of working with some amazing people in the field of holistic health and infertility. And today I have a special treat for you, my guest and friend Zara Haji, the yoga goddess.
Hi, Amy.
Hi Zara. Zara's yoga practice started almost 20 years ago when she was only 18, and she's been teaching for almost 10 years now. I met Zara back in 2007, which was the same time she began working with women wanting to heal their reproductive health and women who were trying to conceive. Earlier this year, Zara authored her first ebook, Fertility Secrets of the Female Body, which was developed out of 6 years of work teaching, coaching, and counseling women with reproductive health issues like infertility. Moon Goddess is the name of Zara's signature mind-body fertility practice. Last year, she was traveling and teaching in India and the Middle East, and I'm happy to say she's back home in Toronto and offering Moon Goddess in a whole new way, which we'll be talking about in just a second. So thanks so much for coming out and doing this interview, Zara. I'm really excited to get this conversation started.
Thanks so much, Amy. I'm so happy to be here.
Great, so let's dive in here. As you know, statistics show infertility is a real issue. In fact, every year, over 7 million women in North America have difficulty getting or staying pregnant. And medical treatments like IUI and IVF only have a success rate of about 22%. I know you have some thoughts as to why that is, Zara. We'll get into those in just a few minutes. But besides infertility, what are some of the problems that you're seeing amongst women in general these days?
Well, Amy, besides the regular stuff like painful periods and PMS, there's actually 20 million women who suffer from endocrine-related health issues like thyroid and adrenal issues, PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, and unfortunately, the numbers are growing. And that's in addition to 1 in 10 couples who are diagnosed with infertility. And hysterectomies are still the #1 surgery performed on women.
Wow, those are really astonishing numbers. I'm curious to hear what you think the problem is.
Well, honestly, I really truly believe that the #1 issue here is that modern gynecology just isn't giving us real health solutions. So something like the pill or a hysterectomy doesn't actually address the underlying health concern, which is at the cause of a woman's reproductive health concern, and that's really what's missing. But since we're not seeing that, our health concerns keep getting more and more complex.
Absolutely. You know, you definitely don't have to convince me of that given the work that I do. But tell our
Absolutely.
viewers a little bit more about what you mean.
Sure. So an example is in my practice, I see women who are diagnosed specifically, for the most part, with unexplained infertility. And in fact, the statistics of infertility cases overall, 30% are considered unexplained, which basically means doctors can't tell 30% of women why they're not able to conceive. And it's really sad because despite all the advances in assisted reproductive health technologies, doctors still prescribe hormonal contraceptives as the only solution to regulate women's cycles. But as you know, the pill doesn't do anything to solve the underlying hormonal imbalance that's really at the heart of all these problems. So girls, for example, under the age of 17 are given the pill and they're told it's their only option, but the pill can't restore your cycles back to health. In fact, the pill actually hijacks your hormones altogether. So symptoms like painful and irregular cycles get covered up and go untreated for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that this is something that drives me absolutely crazy. So tell me a little bit about what your approach and your solution is.
Well, I think, like you, I believe what we really need to do is heal the underlying problem, which means we need to restore healthy hormones and healthy cycles. And from my perspective, that starts with our mind-body connection.
I totally agree. And I'm curious to hear more about your perspective on how you personally define the mind body connection, especially as it relates to infertility and fertility.
Yeah, and honestly, I love explaining this to women, Amy, because every woman on the planet needs to understand that her endocrine system And all of our endocrine systems is actually our original mind-body connection because it's the part of our brain that sends signals to our ovaries and uterus of when to ovulate and when to menstruate. And if your endocrine system isn't working properly, your hormones will be out of whack and your menstrual cycles will be irregular, painful, or even absent. And that makes it impossible, almost impossible, to conceive a healthy pregnancy. And honestly, there's really no way around that.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more because, as you know, I had a personal experience with this. I was put on the pill at 16 to manage all sorts of menstrual irregularities that really had to do with my overall health and the way that I was eating and things like that. And when I came off of the pill, all of those problems came back because I hadn't addressed the underlying issue, and it led to challenges with conceiving for me.
Hmm.
So, from your perspective, why are so many women suffering from unexplained infertility?
Well, here's the thing, Amy. There's a commonly believed myth about infertility and also a really powerful truth. And the myth is unexplained infertility is simply a physical problem that once found can be solved by a physical solution. So we have, a myriad of treatment options like IUI and IVF, um, Clomid, hyper ovarian stimulation, and there's so many more. And for some women, those technologies are an absolute blessing. But for many, they feel like a curse because if a woman can't be told why she's not conceiving, going to the clinic first thing in the morning and being assaulted by a barrage of needles, drugs, and tests not only costs a lot of money, it's also very stressful and painful, invasive, and unnatural.
Yeah, and so emotionally draining, or at least I know it would be for me, and I hear that from my clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings to mind a story of one of my students, Jen, who broke down when she told me about her experience with the fertility clinic. She said she felt like a guinea pig the way she was poked and prodded without being given a clear understanding of what was actually preventing her from conceiving. It made her feel like she was just being a test animal. There was no clear
Mhm.
understanding to her why she was being put through all these different tests and treatments. So she really had to make a difficult choice. And she decided that she would stop going to the clinic and came to one of my moon goddess workshops, really looking for another way to restore her fertility. And thankfully, women like Jen have other options besides painful and expensive fertility treatments that not only can help a woman conceive, but also give them that much needed emotional and spiritual support that women often on the fertility journey are really in desperate need for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds like a really difficult and painful process, and it's lovely to hear that there are alternatives. So tell me, is this something that you're seeing as a common problem?
Yeah, well, like you said, Amy, over 7 million women just in North America alone have difficulty getting or staying pregnant. And medical treatments like IUI and IVF still overall only have a success rate of about 22%.
Yeah, and I remember, thinking back to when I was growing up, like thinking about having trouble conceiving or infertility was just not even on my radar. It never occurred to me to pre-plan or to pre-think about the choices that I was making in that context.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to when I was younger, and I just imagined that when I was ready to have a baby, it would be easy and natural, and I would get pregnant because I wanted to, because I was ready to. But more and more,
Mhm.
and I think most women, like we all, I think, thought that. But more and more, I see women in their 30s and early 40s completely stressed out and worried about their future. And after trying, so they try for a few months, then they'll go to the doctor, they'll get referred to a fertility specialist. And that's unfortunately when baby making can turn into one of the most stressful experiences of a woman's life.
Yeah, it's so true. All the early morning appointments and the doctors that are torpedoing you with intervention after intervention and the complicated medical jargon, the expense, it's very overwhelming. I know I definitely hear that from women all the time.
Yeah. In fact, I had a student, Dina, and her words really deeply touched me because she told me that going to the clinic reduced her to a crying fool. Like those were her exact
Mm,
words. And I hear this so often, Amy, from so many women who tell me they feel totally out of control.
yeah, because you secretly wonder if you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're the cause.
Yeah, or feeling like your body is betraying you or you've done something wrong. And
Exactly. Yeah. And it makes you
yeah.
feel really guilty.
Hmm.
Because if just think about it, like instead of it being a natural and beautiful, easy process, there's all this stress of going to the clinic first thing in the morning. And, for a lot of women, they hate like the parking situation and the all the needles, and it just feels so unnatural and invasive, but you don't want to give up. You don't want to let your partner down. So you
Hmm.
keep trying everything in your power that will make you, and the idea is that it'll make you get pregnant rather than um, it being something that happens easily and effortlessly. It's something that you're trying to force happen. And the more you try, the harder it gets and the more out of control you can feel.
Hmm. I want to talk about a quote. So Helen Adrian has a great quote in her book on the book I know that you've read called On Fertile Ground. And she says, infertility creates a frenzy that sends the mind into outer space and leaves your body to walk the planet like a zombie.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, for every woman who feels that way, I think you and I are both on the same page as well as with Helen Adrian that that's our mission to really help you re-enter your body.
Hmm. Absolutely. And Zara, I know you're not just speaking from books or from the people that you've helped. You have some personal experience with all this. Yes? So tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your journey.
Well, very few people actually know this about me, but when I was 18, I had an abortion. And it was actually one of the hardest decisions I had to make because ever since I was a little girl, walking around with my doll, I've been dreaming of becoming a mother.
Hmm.
And before I lost my baby, I I remember I had really easy periods. I don't remember having cramps or PMS. But after the abortion, I started to get the worst kind of period pain ever. And it actually took me almost 2 decades to make that connection between my heart and my womb.
Hmm.
And I know that now that all the pain and the guilt and the shame that I felt from getting pregnant so young and then having an abortion, I honestly feel like it manifested in my uterus as menstrual hell.
Hmm. Yeah, I can totally relate.
Yeah. And I mean, I know this happened to you as
Hmm.
well, but like my like comparison point, the benchmark I had was all of my girlfriends also had debilitating menstrual cramps. So
Hmm.
I figured it was just part of being a woman. And I had friends like you who were put on the pill because their cramps were so bad. But for me, that wasn't an option because every time I tried to use the pill, it made me crazy or got me depressed.
Hmm.
And I know that happened to your sister as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because I had that experience and I simply couldn't handle being on the pill. It's really what forced me to keep on looking for an answer.
And thankfully you found it.
Yeah, I did. And it didn't make sense to me, honestly, that women are meant to suffer through our periods or suffer through infertility.
So I know you've made that the focus of your research. Tell us more about that.
Sure. So it started back in 2007 when I went back to yoga school and to learn how to heal a woman's reproductive health. I came at my independent research study with a very specific question, which was why would our own biology purposely cause us so much pain, struggle, and stress? And to find a solution, I dug a little bit deeper and I asked, what do we as women need to heal so our biology works with us instead of against us. And it was really amazing, Amy, because when I started to research and talk to other women and do some soul searching, I almost accidentally discovered what I consider ancient wisdom. I found a forgotten body of knowledge that would end up touching the lives of hundreds, even thousands of women all across the world.
Amazing. So tell us more about that, Zara.
Sure. It's funny because it all started with a trip that I was trying to plan with my girlfriend. I I've always had this dream of going to Brazil, but she kept calling it Belize. So I said, "Do you just want to go to Belize? I have a lonely planet. Maybe it's a good idea." But of course, what I didn't know back then, even though I had the Lonely Planet, is that Belize is actually the ancient land of the Mayan moon goddess Ixchel. And I know that you know
Mm,
what I'm talking about because you've been to Belize and you've been working with her fertility teachings.
absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Ishel is the Mayan goddess of the moon and of women's wombs. And in ancient times, women called on her healing powers to help them conceive. So even now, there's a technique which I've been trained in called the Maya abdominal massage, or the Arvigo techniques of Maya abdominal therapy is kind of the new term that's being used, but a lot of people know it as a Maya abdominal massage, and it's taught in southern Belize. And I went there to learn about it because I wanted a tool to help my clients to be able to heal some of their menstrual issues. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a perfect example of what we were talking about before, which is helping women re-enter their bodies. Um,
Absolutely.
but of course, when I was in Belize back then in 2007, I didn't know any of this. And it was only until after I came back from Belize and I got laid off from my high-paying corporate job that I took it as a sign to go back to school to yoga school for a program in women's studies. And it was then when I was researching how yoga can help a woman heal her reproductive health that I started to read about this mystical connection between women's menstrual cycles and the moon and how we can positively affect fertility. What I discovered is how our hormones actually create the different moods that we experience. So, after your period, when you feel a burst of energy, and then mid cycle, when your sexual energy peaks, and then when you're closer to premenstrually, you're more edgy and emotional. And then when
Mhm.
your period is coming, how you just feel like curling up in a ball and sleeping.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, me too. Well, these fluctuations are actually a natural outcome of how the hormones estrogen and progesterone, FSH and LH, how they influence a woman's ovulation and menstruation cycle. Um, and I mean, for me to come across this information was life changing because it just made everything in my mind make sense, and I finally understood. Oh my God, there is a rhyme and reason to why we feel the way we do at different phases of our cycle. And of
Mhm.
course, in ancient cultures, they didn't understand hormonal changes the way we do now. How they explained it, which is so beautiful, is that they compared a woman's body to the moon. So our follicular phase from pre-ovulation to ovulation was symbolized by the waxing moon, full of light and possibility. And then our luteal phase from premenstruation to menstruation was like the waning moon retreating into the quiet darkness every month. And we used to really honor these distinct phases by knowing when to take time out for ourselves, when to work, when to nurture others, and when to express our sexuality. It was all deeply connected with our feminine. So instead of fighting our hormones or trying to control them, we really knew how to work with them. I was honestly stunned.
It's so beautiful. I love that whole, I want to say metaphor, but it's not even just a metaphor because we do have that actual connection to the cycles of the moon. So, if we had all this wisdom and understanding about our bodies 5,000 years ago, what do you think happened? Like, how did we become so disconnected?
Yeah. It's an unfortunate reality, but the reality is this, that for the last 5,000 years, women have inherited beliefs that are simply working against our bodies. Beliefs like our menstrual blood is disgusting and our periods are a messy inconvenience that we need to simply deal with behind closed doors.
Hmm.
Our male dominated religions and societies have preached for millennia about the shameful nature of a woman's menstruating body and how our sensuality is a source of evil.
Hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, more recently, and I felt this growing up, um, that we're told not to overexpress our sexuality because if we're too free sexually, I don't know if this sort of resonates with you too, that we're considered slutty or loose, or that
Hmm.
women are overly emotional, or that femininity is considered a weakness in a male dominated world.
Absolutely. And we see that a lot in especially my sister's work around sexuality and
Yeah.
working with women. And there's just such deep seated shame. And I even see it in my 7-year-old daughter, like how quickly women and little girls internalize that sense of shame and responsibility for their sexuality and their desires.
That it is astounding when you told me that about your daughter as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so painful because these messages, they're both from old and new sources. Like, just the fact that you have experienced that with your own daughter, that this subconscious shame continues to shame us, and we don't even know where it's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think some of the implications of that are?
Well, I feel like that this it's an inherited shame that's passed down through our lineage and generations, and it's really translated to many women being uncomfortable with their periods and their bodies. So, if just thinking about a really simple example, how many times have we all stood in front of the mirror naked? Wishing we were bigger here or smaller there.
Hmm.
Or how many times have you felt too uncomfortable for what you want sexually? Or my favorite example, how would you feel if you were walking around and you had a period blood stain on your pants and you didn't know about it?
Yeah, it's so true. It's that shame and humiliation runs so deep and is so rampant. Even I would feel embarrassed if that happened to me. And my work totally revolves around menstrual cycle health.
Yeah, and honestly, me too. So whether consciously or not, these are the beliefs that are showing up in our female bodies as painful menstruation, unfulfilled sexuality, and then worst of all, unexplained infertility. And the reason why is shame causes distance. We don't like to talk about our periods. We don't want others to know when we're menstruating. We don't see the beauty in our own bodies, so we create distance. We disconnect. And not understanding this is causing, it's affecting us in our lives, affecting our bodies, affecting our fertility, and causing painful periods, terrible PMS, unexplained infertilities. These are all symptoms of a greater problem. And the problem is that we're disconnected from what makes us essentially women.
Yeah, absolutely. And something came to mind that I wanted to share because I have actually a family friend who struggled with infertility for many, many years. And it was actually the work on shame and vulnerability from Brene Brown, which many women are probably familiar with,
Yeah.
that has helped her to finally conceive. And so I really think, and for her, she said, lots of things had changed and she was trying new protocols and stuff, but that the biggest shift for her was around this issue of shame and healing that shame. So I really think it bears repeating, Zara, even just to make it really clear for our viewers.
Sure. And what it is that as women, we're at odds with what makes us female, our very own biology, and this affects us at a cellular level. So it's not our fault, but if you have a specific reproductive health problem, that's a clear sign that you're not connected with your feminine in a healthy way, either subconsciously or consciously.
Yeah, that's so true. And that does explain unexplained infertility.
Yeah,
you
because there's
know?
no explanation, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. And I had a similar experience, which I think I've shared with you, which is, in the midst of my menstrual cramps one month, I was talking to my womb and being like, why are you doing this to me? And this answer came back to me that I hated being a woman. And when I really looked at that, it's not very surprising to me that I ended up conceiving my daughter the next month.
Wow.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what can be done about all of this.
Absolutely. The first thing I just want to, reinforce is that it's not it's not our fault. It's no woman's fault, but it's a byproduct of the society that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but every woman needs to stop and really reclaim your connection to the feminine. Specifically, you need to reconnect with your womb energy and your menstrual cycles if you want to conceive.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman needs to deliberately replace this unconscious shame and negativity around our female bodies and our femininity, or we will remain disconnected. And if we're disconnected, we will continue to have fertility issues that just can't be explained by medical science.
Yeah, absolutely. So walk us through how we can do that.
Sure. So, as I mentioned before, since 2007, I've supported women in their mid to late 30s to early 40s to restore their fertility. Women who may have previously spent months and sometimes years trying to conceive. And I do this primarily by reconnecting them to their womb center using a specific fertility enhancing yoga and meditation practice that I developed. And this is what I'd love to share with you now. How you can use yoga and meditation to heal from infertility. So,
Wonderful.
uh, thank you. So, according to the ancient science of yoga, the human body has 7 energy centers. Or chakras. And the Kundalini yoga, which is the yoga that I'm trained in, is a physical and spiritual practice of moving energy up from the root chakra of the body for healing. And this energy flow is essential for women's fertility because it's in the first 3 chakras that all the reproductive organs are housed. So, in fact, what I love is that the Kundalini energy itself is called Mata Shakti, which means the feminine mother energy of creation. So when you work with your Kundalini, you're working directly with your feminine energy.
That's so neat. So tell us a little bit about how this is different from regular yoga, because there's yoga all over the place now, but I sense that you're talking about something really different and unique and specific here.
Yeah, so I've practiced yoga for over 18 years, and while I have a deep love and respect for all types of yoga, and in fact, in the fertility program that I've developed, I include both Hatha yoga and Kundalini yoga. The powerful healing that I've witnessed with my clients using Kundalini yoga is honestly like nothing I've ever seen. And specifically for fertility, Kundalini yoga is the fastest way to heal reproductive health challenges because we work directly with what's called the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So the HPO axis is how your body produces hormones required for ovulation and menstruation. So when your cycles are irregular, or your periods are painful, or you're not able to conceive, this is a clear sign that the connection between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the ovaries isn't working right. And the Kundalini yoga practice that I developed fixes that disconnect, which in turn brings your hormones back into balance.
Very cool. I love it. And for those of you who are watching, I have actually had the opportunity to do this in person with Zara a few times, and it's really amazing. So what about meditation, Zara? How does that factor into things, and how does that help?
Meditation is also central to healing infertility. And not only does the meditation practice that I developed or that I use with my clients reduce stress, which is, essential to reduce stress when we're going through fertility treatments or trying to conceive in period, it's to increase your overall well-being. And it also affects the parts of the brain which are responsible for reproductive health. So as I mentioned before, the endocrine system.
Neat. So can you give us an example or maybe even walk us through a brief meditation experience?
Sure. So I'm going to need you to be my my
Your guinea
model
pig?
then, Amy.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So there's a few different steps. The meditation that I like to share with my clients, specifically who are struggling with infertility, is the breath meditation to regulate the menstrual cycle. So there's three parts to the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is I'm going to show you a hand position. I'm just going to lift up my hand so you can see. And yes, I have very big hands. um, so I'm going to show you the mudra or hand position. So you start off with your index finger and thumb.
Okay.
Then you'll do it's your middle finger and thumb, yes,
Mm-hmm.
your ring finger, and then your baby finger. So you press each finger sequentially.
Mm-hmm.
First finger, second finger, third finger, baby finger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they would just be sitting on your lap, but I just wanted to
Okay.
demonstrate.
Okay.
Um, as you press each finger sequentially, you're going to use a silent mantra.
Mm-hmm.
And the mantra is Sa. Do you want to say that with me?
Sure. Sa,
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 Ta,
ta,
Na,
na,
Ma.
ma.
Yeah. So Sa, Ta,
Sa, ta,
Na, Ma.
na, ma.
Perfect. So when you touch each finger, the first finger is Sa, the
Mm-hmm.
second finger is Na, the third finger is, sorry, Sa, Ta. First finger is Sa, second
Mm-hmm.
finger Ta,
Mm-hmm.
third finger Na,
Mm-hmm.
baby finger Ma.
Okay.
So I'll just
Sa,
do that.
ta,
Sa, Ta,
na,
Na,
ma.
Ma. Perfect.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the final component
Mm-hmm.
is the breath.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one inhalation broken up into
Mm-hmm.
four sniffs. So you're
Okay.
going to go sniff, 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 exhale. So you want to
Okay.
try that?
Sure.
Okay. Exhale. So
And I
you
exhale
actually
with
want to
my
exhale
mouth?
through the nose.
Oh,
No,
okay.
the
All
nose.
right. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do it again. Perfect. So let's put all the pieces together, putting your hands on your lap, and if
Mm-hmm.
you can sit up so that your feet are flat on the floor, and sit up really tall so that your shoulders are relaxed, and you can close your eyes
Mm-hmm.
and just set your intention, whatever that intention might be in this moment, to feel more at peace, to be more relaxed, maybe to um, ameliorate your menstrual cycle in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to start. I'll just guide you through. I'll let you do the breathing. The mantra is silent, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be pressing your fingers sequentially. And I'll just demonstrate for those who are watching. Your
Okay.
hands are on your lap.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's take a moment and then let's begin. Starting with the first finger and the first sniff. Sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. Sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. Keep going. Good. Keep going. Sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. Sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. And just do it 3 more times on your own. And take a deep breath in. And just hold your breath. Exhale. And if you like, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And just take a moment to connect. And just remembering your mind-body connection starts in your brain with the endocrine system. And in Chinese medicine, there's a meridian that goes straight through your heart to your womb. So just bringing that awareness into our bodies, that we're fully integrated beings, our mind, our hearts, and our wombs in one connection, one whole circle of life. And that's actually what Satanama means. Sa means initiation or birth. Ta means life. Na means transition. And Ma means rebirth. And it's symbolized by the 4 phases of our cycle. Pre-ovulation, ovulation, premenstruation, and menstruation. And so that's a little bit of the philosophy of the meditation as well as the practice. So whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes.
That was great.
You look
Thank
more
you.
relaxed. You're
I'm
welcome.
definitely relaxed. Now I have to remember what it is I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I feel great.
You're welcome.
So
Yeah, and that was only a minute or so. So,
yeah.
I highly encourage everybody anyone who has any kind of menstrual irregularity, this
Mhm.
is the meditation to do.
And how often do you recommend that women do it?
Well, for example, I had a student, Susan, who did this
Mhm.
meditation every day for 40 days.
Mhm.
Granted, she did it for 11 minutes every day,
Mhm. Mhm.
and she did it for 40 days straight. On both occasions that she did her 40-day practice,
Mhm.
she conceived on 2 different occasions
Wow.
I mean, obviously having sex with her husband, but
Yeah.
the meditation, she really feels that it was central to her being able to conceive, without any additional outside help from doctors or fertility treatments. And this was someone
Mm.
who had some struggles. She was
Mhm.
in her late 30s or early 40s, I can't remember.
Mhm.
And both times she got pregnant doing a
Mhm.
mind body practice like Moon
Wow.
Goddess. Well, she did Moon Goddess,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Mm.
So, what has been the general response or result to people doing your practice aside from this woman?
Well, I've had a lot of women that I've worked with both here in Toronto. I even went to India and Dubai.
Mhm.
And over the last few years, by doing this program with me, they've been healed of menstrual issues, erratic cycles, and including infertility. Half of these women actually went on to conceive. So, as I mentioned, Susan was one example
Mhm.
who, when she did this breath meditation, plus she did my Moon Goddess class, she
Mhm.
conceived twice.
Mhm.
Um, and I've seen a success rate overall of 50% amongst my clients who were previously diagnosed with unexplained infertility.
Those are
And
amazing
and
stats. I'm going to cut you
yeah,
off there just to be like,
yeah.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's very encouraging because
Mhm.
that's double what conventional fertility treatments overall. Of course, clinic
Mhm.
by clinic results will be different, but
Mhm.
overall, that's double what conventional fertility treatments can offer a woman. And I
Mhm.
really believe that's because we deal with the root issue, which is that disconnect between women's bodies and their
Mhm.
fertility.
Mhm.
And how we do this is by combining the two core yoga goddess teachings, which is the first being my fertility enhancing yoga and meditation practice, and the
Mm-hmm.
second is working with your menstrual cycle, so you can connect with what I like to call your goddess energies.
Mm.
And I feel that this is the key to reconnecting with your feminine in a healthy way. So, if you recall, I was telling you about that ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
So, just to go through that again, to recap, through your menstrual cycle, you cycle through four different biological phases. So that's pre-ovulation,
Mm-hmm.
ovulation, premenstruation, and menstruation. Um, but that's purely on a physical level. But if you think about how you feel at each of these four phases, you can really understand, instead of just thinking about the physiological, biological piece, to connect it to your own experience. Think about how you feel after your period, that you have a burst of energy. I like to make a joke, and it feels like to me I can slide my bra strap onto the last hook, and my skinny jeans just slide on after after the period is over.
Yeah.
Um, and then mid-cycle, when our sexual energy generally peaks, and then premenstrually, often we feel more edgy and emotional. And then when your period is coming, how often we just want to, hide away in our beds and curl up under the covers and just shut
Mm-hmm.
out the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these fluctuations are directly connected to the four phases of the cycle. So I like to say this, instead of seeing yourself as a psycho, I encourage you to refrain and stop calling yourself names, because you're not psycho. You're cyclical, period.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, because of your cycle, you get to access your four goddess energies, and they are the go getter energy of kick ass action at pre ovulation, the
Mm-hmm.
loving energy of the nurturer at ovulation, the sensual energy of the enchantress at premenstruation, and the quiet, intuitive energy of the wise woman at menstruation. And these four goddess energies are the four ways you naturally express your feminine energy. And all women have access to it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I like to also say that when you're trying to conceive, you want to feel like a balanced goddess rather than a crazy stressed woman. To conceive, you really want to feel in the flow of your feminine energy. And this is how you get off the hamster wheel of trying so hard and put an end to that crazy making cycle of tentative hope and crushing disappointment with every ovulation and period. That's why I give you meditations and exercises, so you can relax into your goddess energies and optimize your hormones at every phase of your cycle. And this is how you will conceive with ease.
Yay, that's fabulous.
Yes.
Can you tell us what someone else who's experienced great results from this practice?
Sure. Yuko Arnold was another student of mine here in Toronto. And
Mm-hmm.
after 3 years of trying, she actually got pregnant in week 4 of the Moon Goddess program, and she gave birth subsequently to a beautiful baby boy.
Amazing. That's beautiful. Well, we're running low on time, but can you tell us a little bit about your program now and how people can get more information about it? Because I'm sure lots of women who are watching are eager to find out how they can access some of this incredible wisdom.
It's my pleasure. Yes. After teaching Moon Goddess in private and small group settings, I had actually had so many women ask me if there was some way for them to do this program in the comfort of their own home. They either lived out of town or they didn't have the liberty to come to Toronto for weekly classes or private sessions. So I basically took my fertility enhancing yoga and meditation program called Moon Goddess and recorded it on video, so it's now available for you to experience in the comfort of your own home. It's exactly the same program that I've used for all my private and small group clients. the same program that has healed hundreds of women with infertility issues, just in an easier format to use.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So what's included in the program? What can a person expect to get and experience while going through it all?
First, you'll receive 4 videos. So in Moon Goddess video 1, we open our practice using the Adi mantra. And so we're connecting with the heart and the mind, so really calming down the mind. We start breathing and then we chant this mantra. And then I guide you how to set your intention for a healthy conception and healthy pregnancy. In Moon Goddess video 2, I will take you through a gentle and easy flow of yoga, fertility yoga postures to support your reproductive organs, and practicing these 11 poses will draw healing energy and blood flow into your hips, your pelvis, your uterus, and your ovaries, and also relieve any stress, pain, or discomfort during your menstrual cycle, as well as ease PMS symptoms. And in Moon Goddess video 3, I'll guide you step by step through a Kundalini yoga sequence to gently stimulate the pituitary gland. And this is the gland that, regulates your fertility hormones, FSH, LH, progesterone, and estrogen. And doing this will naturally restore your balance to your menstrual cycle as well as ovulation. And then in video 4, I'll guide you to lie down, relax, and take in the healing effects of your fertility yoga practice. Finally, we'll meditate together using that breath meditation. It's an ancient technique to optimize your fertility hormones and erase negative thinking. So not only will you let go of all the stress, your glow will be gorgeous and undeniable.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And all 4 videos will be yours, giving you access to the complete 90-minute fertility enhancing yoga and meditation practice, which, by the way, was recorded while I was in India last year. So for those of you who like that added dimension of mysticism, in addition to all the moon wisdom, it's recorded in India, and all from the comfort of your own home.
Amazing. That sounds so great and really comprehensive, Zara. It sounds really, really comprehensive. So I know when I've bought programs like this in the past, I'm really excited when I get it at first, but then I kind of get busy and I procrastinate and I lose momentum, and I'm sure some of our viewers can relate. Yeah. So do you have an accountability component that you can include so that the ladies who sign on don't just end up having this sit on a shelf?
Yeah, or on your hard drive.
Hard drive, yeah, exactly. More modern.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, that was really central to when I developed this program. I really want women to get the most out of it, and in order to do that, of course, doing the practice is how you can get the most out of it.
Yeah, you're not going to get much from having it sit around.
No, exactly. No. So what I do is I send out 5 weekly emails. So my recommended time frame for the practice is to do it for 5 weeks. So it makes it really easy for you to follow. If you buy the program, I'll make sure you never get confused or lose motivation, because once a week you'll get an email telling you where to start, what to start with, what step to take each day, and week by week for the whole 5 weeks. With my email support, you'll never feel lost or alone. So, yeah. And if you're interested in getting the program or learning more about it, you can simply go to the website, www.yogagoddess.ca. It's also on the screen, /Moon Goddess. So that's MOONGODDESS. And all the details are there, and you can get a copy of it for yourself.
Wonderful. Well, Zara, I want to thank you so much for your time today. That was really amazing information. And for our guests, again, I've known Zara for 6 years, and her program is truly excellent. I am speaking from personal experience. And I've even been a participant in your Moon Goddess classes that are in person, which were lovely. And you used to even have them in our store, which was such a
Yeah.
blessing to have you teaching in our space. And I loved really how supported and affirmed I felt as a woman who struggled for years with horrible periods and my own struggle to get pregnant after the pill, and just really feeling always at odds with my body. You really helped me to feel connected, and especially the part where you talked about the different goddess energies, that's been really pivotal for me. And even my sister and I kind of assign tasks in our business based on where we are in our menstrual cycle, thanks to many of the things that I learned from you. So if you are suffering with infertility or missing periods, PMS, cramps, fibroids, PCOS, or even symptoms of perimenopause, I highly recommend that you check out this program. So again, the URL is www.yogagoddess.ca/moongoddess. So thanks again, Zara, and to all of our guests today. Peace and love to everyone. Mwah.
Thanks, Amy. Mwah.